Thank you very much. Wonderful introduction. My good friend, very eminent jurist, Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Jayashankar Namaya, guest of honor B.J. Arun, the chairman of TiE Global Board, the chair of the awards, Vivek Krishna Govind, my friend the president, Anisha Cherian, and the incoming, or the chairman, Damodar Ramanoj. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me and for giving me the time to say a few things today. First, I must say that this is a bit far afield for me. I normally stay within Tamil Nadu or rarely go out to Delhi or something. So it's a bit of a stretch for me to make it to Kerala. And when I got on the plane this morning, my next seat neighbor unexpectedly was another old Valencian, Mr. Murugapan, who I think spoke earlier today here. And I didn't know what he was coming for. I thought he was coming to look at his factory or something. And he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to the TiE Awards. You know, the pressures that the oil network exerts." And he said, "Actually, I'm also going to the same place for the same reason." Still different people exerted the pressure, but I'm also going to the same place for the same reason. So though at some level, I'm an unlikely speaker here, I must say two things. One, that I have actually a long association on the fringes with TiE. I think I was at a TiE event in San Jose in 93 or 92 or 94, in the early days when there were, I think, only a few dozen members and one chapter, and I was a grad student in the US at that time. Over the years, I've had some interactions with the TiE chapters in New York City, where I worked as a banker, in Mumbai, where I worked for a little while, in Singapore, where I worked for a little while, and then in Chennai, and including right now, we get some help for the women's self-help groups that we sponsor in my constituency in Madurai from the TiE Chennai chapter. So, first, it's remarkable to see over 30 years how an institution that was just an idea of a few people, and to be honest, in those days there were not that many Indian entrepreneurs or Indian technology success stories in the early 90s. So it was more a kind of guild to help each other. So to imagine how far it has come in 30 years is heartening. I think it's also appropriate, though it was more a question of timing than choice, that I ended up in my regular politician attire today instead of a suit and tie. I think it's appropriate that for two of us who spent so many years together in school, that the judge looks like a judge and the politician looks like a politician. So and it's certainly very, very important. I know for politicians, I'll assume that I can speak at least for my friend the judge, if not all judges, that every so often we should connect with the people that we were snot-nosed kids in half trousers and remember that we are still normal human beings and we shouldn't let the trappings of office carry us away. So for all those reasons, I'm very happy to be here. I must say that entrepreneurs have a special place in our society. One of the greatest failings of democracy in general, and certainly Indian democracy, is that too few get too many benefits and many others don't get anything at all or far less than their fair share. I could talk about this at length, but this is not the right place for it. But entrepreneurship is a way to break some of that, because the true nature of capitalism requires level playing fields, requires innovation, requires upsetting established orders and the old kind of creative destruction, Schumpeter definition of capitalism. And that's what I think organizations like TiE promote, support, encourage. If we have very few people who control the bulk of the economy or a stock market or a public exchange, the value of it. This is not an efficient market outcome. In a large economy with hundreds of millions of people, we need to have lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of successful entrepreneurs, not 2 or 3 or 5 that control large parts of the economy. So I think entrepreneurship in general, but particularly disruptive, technology-driven, scalable entrepreneurship is even more important. I would say both in government and in public, let's say in political parties, in the public sphere, the greatest limitation is not money. We are, at least in Tamil Nadu, to some extent in Kerala, we are relatively well-off states. We can finance almost anything. As somebody reminded me of a speech by the great economist Keynes in the depth of the Second World War, where he argued that because of the way monetary policy works and banks work and access to resources and liquidity is there, says almost anything that we can actually do, that is as a government, if we actually have the execution capability to get it done the way we want it done, then we can certainly afford it, because surely it will have a multiplier effect and we'll make more than our money back, or the benefit will be far greater than the investment. And so that, I think, holds true today. At least in my understanding, the greatest limitation of successful outcomes, or the barrier to successful outcomes, is simply lack of administrative and execution capability. Now, some of that is not about human beings, some of that is just about scale. The government of Tamil Nadu has something like 350 IAS officers, where, in my opinion, as a professional, as an ex-consultant, as a former manager, I'd say we need probably 1,000. We have hundreds of public sector undertakings, boards, regulatory bodies, 55 departments, 38 districts. In my finance department alone, I have 7 or 8 IAS officers. Imagine what the total need of the state is. So the ability to actually systematically develop strong organizational models and then develop the human talent and the leadership talent in those organizations really, I think, is the limiting variable. How well you get that done, you'll have as much success as that. That's true for government. I think that's also true for enterprises. It's certainly true for political parties. One of the main reasons one party is so successful today is that they have just outstanding commitment in people and their ability to execute. Their philosophy may be different than mine, but I can't fault their execution capabilities. I'll just say a few words about some of the things we're doing in Tamil Nadu along the lines of promoting entrepreneurship, because I think that might be relevant. Around September, October last year, I was invited to one of these CII Connect events, and then one in Anna University and so forth. And I saw a whole bunch of really promising startups in drone applicability applications, in automated cooking using IoT for. There's a bunch of things, and it occurred to me that actually the state of Tamil Nadu could be a big buyer of such services. So after repeated attempts and discussions, we now have something going on for the last 7 or 8 months, and it's called Sell to Government Day. So one day a month, one department, the process takes a long time. You get a lot of people apply, we say these are the things we're looking for, all the startups that think they can provide those services to a government department, health or agriculture or medical, not medical, to public distribution, food department. They get to pitch what are the products or services that they can deliver, and they go through a process of screening, first through online applications and then some committee and all that. And then we have one day where the top 15 or 20 come and pitch. And we've already been able to take a couple, at least to my knowledge. I think many more happen, but I'm not daily connected with it. But we are doing some profound reforms in property tax management. Some of it driven by compulsions from the Union government, but long needed after 25 or 27 years. We've raised the property taxes, though we're still about 30, 40, 50% behind most major states and cities. But enforcing the property tax collection is something else altogether. So we've been using a couple of these drone startups to do surveys of properties and do an assessment of the likely square footage, match that to the record and see if we're actually collecting the right amount of tax from the right people, or at least billing them the right way. Then there's a whole different project we have with the MIT, the JPAL, the Abdul Latif Jamal Poverty Action Lab, where we're looking at how we can incentivize better tax collection through our tax collectors. Because one of the big problems we have in government is that we don't have either the carrot or the stick. We don't have any way of incentivizing most government employees to perform better. And we don't have, we have very, very limited ways of actually penalizing or reprimanding or disciplining them. So, in that kind of a model, what can you really do to get it? So, those are some examples. We also used the automated cooking when our pilot free breakfast at school program that has turned out to be a big hit. In the rural areas, we use self-help groups of the mothers of the children in the school, but in the urban areas, we have centralized kitchens with internet-operated automated cooking machines. So the hygiene, the quality, the consistency is all there. And that we got from a local startup as well. We've also set up, because we say we're for social justice, we're for eradication of the stratification of society. I announced in our budget a special 30 crore seed investment fund for equity investments into startups by Adi Dravidar and Palangudiyar, SC/ST entrepreneurs. We were not quite sure what we'd get, but just last evening I was at a dinner with my finance secretary and he said he had gone through the first round of, kind of screening. And he said there were fantastic, brilliant companies. We get so many proposals that we think we're going to do really well. Not only are we going to invest the money, but many of them are going to be hugely successful and they haven't had the kind of access to capital that the government of Tamil Nadu can provide. Another initiative, we have off-balance sheet equity funding vehicle. It's an alternative investment fund manager, SEBI registered. A bunch of banks are partners with us. We're about a 49% shareholder. It's called the Tamil Nadu Infrastructure Fund Management Corporation. And they were already running some funds, or they were pretending to run some funds for 7-8 years. I came in, I cleaned up, I took over as chairman. And now we're about to launch, or we've just launched an emerging sector seed fund, where we are going to invest government and our partners' capital into encouraging startups, and particularly those startups that can help the government directly or be competitive. And in all of these, our view is that we want to grow with the company. As you may know, Tamil Nadu has some history of this. There are 3 or 4 big public companies where we have been one of the founding investors, and we still have massive stakes. The Titan company being one of them, where I think we still own about 26% of the equity today. So there's some history. We learn and we adapt, and we move forward with the current scenario and the leveraging of technology. I think with that, I should stop talking and let me congratulate in advance all the winners of the awards today. Let me commend the work of the jury. I know this can't be easy when you have multiple brilliant applications or possibilities. I thank once again the organizers and the senior officers of TiE Kerala for persistently inviting me. I think I was, last time I was on the video conference. I'm very happy to be here. I wish you all the best, and as entrepreneurs, I wish you all great success, create jobs, make yourselves rich, and help the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PTR. It's such a pleasure listening to you and such an honor for us to have you with us. It's very gracious of you to say that you'll take a couple of questions. So, any of you have questions, or you can probably make a note while we listen to our next speaker, and we can probably come back. You'd like to ask a question, please?
What are your thoughts on creating market-creating innovations, like more disruptive innovations, and what type of educational system that we need? in our country?
It'll take me a long time, so I won't get into the examples. But I'm saying it's very hard to tell ahead of time what is market disrupting. Only after they reach some kind of critical mass and they start making inroads. There are any number of examples of companies that have developed technologies even in-house that have turned out to be profoundly market altering. And they have not been able to leverage that technology, partly because they can't see the future that well, partly because it would mean cannibalizing their own businesses. Right? There's a whole host of examples. The examples that I know well because I lived in Western New York for a long time is that Eastman Kodak actually was the pioneer of digital cameras. But they didn't kind of grow them because they wanted to hold on to the film margin, and effectively the company went bankrupt. And there's a whole number of things. So I think, what it really requires is not anybody directing traffic. What it requires is people who have, as you say, educationally and culturally, the mindset that they are capable of changing the world. Right? It's really, a lot of the startup, uniqueness is about the culture in the team. It's about the people and the culture of the team. A small bunch of people who believe they can change the world and who are willing to take the risk and willing to put in the work for that. And, the 10 times they get beaten down, not stop, but keep doing that. Of course, you can do a little bit to create such ecosystems, and some of them develop naturally. There's a reason why the Bay Area is home to so many startups. In Tamil Nadu, I can say that we have one such place where we have seen a lot of this kind of mindset, and that's the IIT Research Park, which is operating on government of Tamil Nadu land on a lease. It's a JV between us. And there I've seen the kind of mindset that I used to see in the valley, where people are really of the mind that if they make it happen, it can reach any level of scale. I'm not sure that educationally any particular institution or a particular curriculum can get you there. I think it's more a cultural thing, and it's a kind of company culture. Really, at some level, what separates great companies from average ones in my decades of corporate experience is just the people and the culture. The people set the culture because nobody's permanent, people keep changing, and the culture persists if it's good enough a culture. And that really makes a competitive difference, and I think that's true for startups, much more so even than in large organizations.
I'm Dr. George Joseph Thimplingat, Honorable Minister. I also happened to study in Kochi around the days you were there, and I also was in the US in the early days of the TiE, as well as in New York. We seem to have gone through some similar circles. My question, there are two parts to it. One, if we could have a couple of tunnels built under the Western Ghats, starting on the Kumali side, on the Madurai side, towards Travancore, the tons of water that goes waste from the rains in Kerala through the 7 or 8 or 10 southern Kerala rivers to the lakes and then onto the ocean. We could easily have it shipped through the tunnels to Tamil Nadu, and the fertile soil in Tamil Nadu can come alive. I'm the one who got the green bio-toilets from the Indian Railway, and no fecal matter dumps anywhere in India today. And unfortunately, thank you. Unfortunately, I'm an unsung hero. I would love to come to Tamil Nadu and speak with you, Honorable Minister, to see how we could do waste management in India in such a way that we build districts in Tamil Nadu and Kerala that look comparable to Scandinavia, Japan or Switzerland. Why are we not dealing with garbage, which is the biggest business opportunity? And if we don't deal with garbage, our tourism or no other industry will take off.
Thank you, Dr. George. I think I must, sorry to intervene,
that's okay.
but I think we must listen to the minister.
Please, thanks.
Please come to Chennai and see me. I have some constraints. I'm only the Minister for Finance. I'm not the Minister for Urban Affairs or Municipal Administration or Water Management. But you come to Chennai and we'll figure out a way to get your ideas into the right places, and I'll support it as best I can.
Thank you so much. so much for that commitment, Minister.
Honourable Minister, the question is that you are in charge of both finance and human resources. How is it done in Tamil Nadu? Like, is there a separate labour department, or is there any queue we are getting in terms of how the Honourable Chief Minister allocated human resource and finance together, which we say the two capitals, the human resource as well as the financial capital? How this got merged, and is there a separate labour department in Tamil Nadu, or is under you?
Good question. Very easy to answer. The Labour Department is the actual human resource department of the people of Tamil Nadu. What we call the human resource management in most states is called personnel and administrative reforms. So it's the department that has the recruiting, like the Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, the training institutes, the right to information, the Lokayukta, the Department of Vigilance, Anti-Corruption. It's basically the management of the human resources of the state. I must say that both in finance and in human resources, and as far as I'm concerned, the human resources department is much more important than the finance department, both good ways and bad ways. It's about 68% of the budget of our state's own revenue go in. I'm the Minister for Finance, Pensions and Pension Benefits, old personnel administrative reform now called human resource management, and then planning, development and special initiatives. So a bunch of the administrative. I don't know how the Chief Minister put it together, but now I tell you that the human resources portfolio is much more important than the finance portfolio. So finance portfolio can be fixed by competence, good relationships, good systems, etc. The human resource portfolio, like I said about other organizations, unless you can design an organization well with the right incentive alignment, with the right models for recruiting, training, development, kind of disciplining, control, etc. And I'm constantly frustrated at the limited levers that the government has. But I think that's true of all governments. It's by far the more challenging part of my job compared to the finance. But there's a separate labor department and a separate school education, higher education, and those look at the broader 8 crore people of Tamil Nadu. I just look at somewhere between 1 and 1.5 million, 10 and 15 lakh employees directly or indirectly of the government.
Thank you. Ajit.
Honourable Minister Ajit Bhupan, you have the unique advantage of straddling two different careers, corporate and political. Curious to know what learnings from corporate or principles have you been able to apply to politics?
I think some things are universal, right? You cannot get better results unless you improve processes, right? Nobody does the same thing and gets different outcomes. You have to do different things. I would say the principles of how to administer and how to design have a lot in common. I would say the distinction is that in a corporate environment, you have two major advantages and one kind of limitation. The major advantages are everybody is aligned the same way. For the company to succeed, everybody knows you have to make more money or better margin or greater market share. It's not a complex dimension and there's not a lot of dispute about it. In government, many different people believe that the ambition should be many different things, not necessarily the same thing. And most companies don't operate in a monopoly or even an oligopoly or a cartel. They operate in a competitive market, in which case the market forces discipline on you. Either you keep up or you get left behind, or you get ahead if you're smart. Governments are monopolies by nature. In my state, I'm the only government. So there you don't have those pressures from outside, and it's very, very hard to drive change. The marginal effort required to do the right thing in government is probably 100 times what is required to do the right thing, because everybody wants to do the right thing if that right thing increases the company's competitiveness. Here, in fact, even yesterday, some very senior officer from Delhi, who's our Tamil Nadu cadre, was visiting back Tamil Nadu, and we were discussing in my office around this time yesterday. And we were saying that if you want to make change, the few people who will be disaffected by that change. Even if it's the most fair change you can think of, meaning they've been getting hugely unfair advantages and you're going to take that away or take some of it away. Those people will yell and scream bloody murder as if, the whole system is falling apart, you'll never win an election again, this, that. And the many that benefit either will not speak up because they don't want to reveal that they're benefiting, or they don't even know that we can't hear them because they're the poor and the weak and they don't have access to the corridors of power. So it's very, very hard to drive change, and without change you cannot get results. So that's very unique about government. But the solace that this very senior officer told me, he said, sir, if you get frustrated relative to corporate kind of management, think about it this way, even moving the needle a little bit here changes the lives of many million people, as opposed to in corporate world, all you're doing is making more money or getting a bigger bonus or driving the stock price. Is not the same. So I would say that's the real kind of trade-off between the corporate world and government.
Thank you so much, sir.